Hey everyone, Andrew here, and since I just did the top 5 worst, it's time for the top 5 best Pixar films. This one was tough because all of them are great. There's a lot of them that are very good. It was like, it's easier to pick out the ones that were bad than it is to try to figure out which ones are better than the rest. Because Pixar has been on top of the game since they invented the game of 3D animation. There's no one that really even rivals them. Disney's trying. They're not really succeeding, but they're trying very, very hard. You can make an argument for any of these films being the best thing that Pixar's ever done. And that's really saying something for a company to make, 20 different movies, and 18 of them you can argue for as being the best thing that Pixar they have ever done. I'm going to start off by mentioning my top 6th and my top 7th because when I did my 2017 Best Ever Review, I did a review on Coco and Cars 3, and I said they were both in my 6th place, spotting me in the 5th place of my favorite Pixar films. And a year plus later, they haven't won. It's been close, but I still kind of go with it. And Cars 3 has moved just a smidge down in my love of it, because I do love it, but there's a certain points, specifically Lightning yelling at Cruz, his trainer slash trainee, that just kind of drag that movie down a little bit, which pushes Coco up, and Coco is absolutely beautiful. And but we move on to my actual number 5. Toy Story 2. This one's kind of surprising for some people because of how much I talked about disliking Toy Story 1 in the last one, and it was surprising to me. I don't even know why I went and saw Toy Story 2 in theaters, seeing as I did not like Toy Story 1. But I did go see it, and I loved it. I love everything about it. I love the characters. I love the story. I actually really grew to love Woody in this story, which is saying something, seeing as how much of an impact he had on me disliking the first one. And then you get introduced to the new characters of Jessie and Bullseye, who are great additions, and even the old prospector is actually a very good hidden character who is really interesting to look at a character as a toy who's never been played with. And it just has some really good ideas, really good concepts. You dealing with the worry of being abandoned because you're damaged, to the worry about being abandoned because someone got older and no one wants to play with you, and do you enjoy the short amount of time that you get to be with a child, or do you choose to exist forever, type of thing, and to be adored. Basically, it's the truly loved by one or the adored by millions option, which is a really good concept, and it's a really good kind of struggle where it's like, how would you feel and how would anyone react to that? And it's a really good story, really good animation, got some great stuff. This is one of the last ones that really did the blooper segments for the credits that I absolutely love. I just love the idea that Woody was going around the whole time playing pranks on Buzz the entire time, so he kept doing different things to Buzz just for laughs. That just worked really well. Plus, one of my favorite things was Barbie at the end when she's just telling everyone goodbye, because what she says at the end of that, it just feels like every day at Disneyland for me. It was just like, bye bye now, bye bye now, bye bye. Are they gone? Oh, thank God. I can't keep smiling. It hurts so much. That's every cast member at Disneyland. Every day. And it's just really well told, really interesting. I loved the introduction of Zurg and having that battle and having there be another Buzz, and everything in this movie works extremely well. It's a really good storytelling, and it goes really good into Toy Story 3. I do super like Toy Story 3. It's actually right below Cars 3 is my favorite, but that one, just the fact that it makes me cry every time, or a bunch of the times that I watch it. But with Toy Story 3, I always had a problem with the removal of Bo Peep, because it always made the very end of the movie seem slightly more downbeat than it did for most people. Because I know a lot of people love that ending, but for me, I always felt like everyone gets to be happy except Woody, who's kind of alone. That's how I react to it. I'm really interested to see what they do with Toy Story 4. Hopefully, we get something on the level with the last two. But honestly, we'll see. I'm very hopeful. Cars. Yeah, I love this movie. I know I'm in the minority. I know majority of y'all hate Cars, and definitely Cars 2. And it's really interesting to me going from love Cars 1, dislike Cars 2, love Cars 3. And there are elements of Cars 3 that are better than in Cars 1, but Cars 1 just has so much going for it for me that I just love. I've seen a lot of people put Cars as their least favorite Pixar film, and I've never understood it. Because to me, it's such a good story. It's so well told. And yes, a lot of people will point out, like, well, you complained about the cliches in Cars 2 and University, but there's full of cliches here in Cars. It's like, yes, but they're done expertly well. I feel it's like you got the young punk kid who thinks he knows everything, getting in a spot of situation and then having to learn from the wise elder mentor character. And like, honestly, like Doc in this movie is amazing. Like it's have it being one of his last roles is fitting because you can just feel Paul Newman in that performance and the way he talks and the way he gives that performance. There's a speech that he does to Lightning that is like absolutely brilliant and just sums up Paul Newman really well, which is it's like I came back from injuries and they rejected me. They passed the world, it passed me by. I still had a lot in me. I could have done something. I still have a lot in me type of thing. And it's just so that has so much weight behind it because it's Paul Newman's voice, because it's this actor who was on top of the world and, you know, fell down as the time went by type of thing. It just has this gravitas to it. Lightning and Sally through the mountain range is just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. But honestly, like the best thing about Cars is the world building. Like literally, like everything in that world is beautiful. You got all this stuff. The clouds look like cars. The cows are tractors. The mountains are shaped like cars. The bugs are little Volkswagen Beetles. It's like every single detail, every single thing is centered around this theme, and it's such a good look at culture and the death of small towns because it's a really good look at the Route 66 and those towns that at a certain point used to be huge and thriving because everyone was going down that road. Everyone was taking family vacations. Everyone was doing road trips. And we live in a society with interstates where people don't do that anymore. Not really. Not to the extent that we used to. And you just see these towns kind of just shrivel up and die away. And it's sad. It really is. Like you have stories about entire towns that just vanish and are abandoned because the freeway came in and took and got rid of the road that ran through this and just passes them by. And it's such an interesting and such a deep look into that. And I love everything about it. It's a great film. Inside Out. This one was a very pleasant surprise because a lot of fans of Pixar, myself included, were very worried with Disney buying Pixar because the first three that Disney did after purchasing Pixar were not good. Because you had Cars 2, Monsters University, and Brave. And while beautiful, all of them, the storytelling, the characters, everything was weak. And it was just very sad and very questionable. And just like, I was starting to worry that there would never be a great Pixar film again. And then we got Inside Out. And Inside Out is such a great concept and such a great way of looking at a story. And to be fair, it is a story that has been done before. There are other variations of the story. There was Osmosis Jones. There was In the Mind of Henry or something like that. or Herman's Mind or something of that nature, where you saw emotions and how they reacted to things. But it's never been done to this level, to this scope. And the level of detail that went into making this movie, the level of thought and processing and the way things work is amazing. I highly recommend watching Everything Great About Inside Out by Cinema Wins, because he points out all these little details that I never picked up on, and all these little things. Like, you can track the level of emotional ability that the Riley has based on the monitor, the little control panel they have. Because when we first are introduced to it and her, it's just a single button that just makes a noise, and nothing more complicated than that. And then by the time we get to the end of the movie, she's a teenager, so she has this giant board all decked out. And it's also interesting to see the way our emotions are when we are a kid versus our way our emotions grow and become more complex. So when you're a kid, your emotions are pretty simple. You're happy, or you're sad, you're angry, or you're afraid. It's always very cut and dry. But when you become an adult, your emotions become complex, and you can be crying while happy, and you can be sad while angry, and you can have these mixed mash of emotions where you're feeling 2 or 3 emotions at the same time. And that's like expertly told through this, and it's like the message of this movie is amazing, which is it's okay to be sad. Which you didn't one thing is a message that we need to be taught, but we spent so many years and so much time trying to keep kids from being sad, to feel. We want them to feel special. We want them to feel important. We never let them develop the full range of their emotions. It's like, if you never experience loss, you never experience the true joy of victory. And it's such a good message, and it's so well told, and the environment that is inside the mind is so interesting and so complex. And we have one of the best character self-sacrifices ever of Bing Bong, where he's like, you see what he does, and that he does it to help Joy and to help Riley, and he's happy about it. You see him disappear, and it's sad, and it's so heartbreaking. It's so interesting to see a movie with so much scale, but over something so simple. Because literally all this is a story about a single teenager losing their emotions. It's not about saving the town. It's not about saving the world. It's not about changing the life of anyone. It's just a very small, focused plot of this girl. If we don't do something, she will become emotionally unstable and will just shut down and not feel things, and will make and do things. And it's like, you can see everything behind every single thing that Riley does. And not just because the emotions do it, but what's going on in her thinking, and what she's feeling and how she's reacting. And they are perfect representations of her, is those emotions. And it's a great capture of being a teenager in that time, at that age, in that type of situation, that type of environment, where it's like, even like, you don't even have to include the idea of being moving to a new town, but just changing grades, going through a new class. You have those moments where you're just like, I don't know how to process the things that I'm emotions, and this is such a good capture of that time frame and that age. And you got such great depth to all the characters. Like, you have Joy having moments of deep sadness, and it's like to show that, like, emotions are all kind of connected and they all work together. And like, it's such a good voice cast. It's such a good performance. It's got some great concepts, some great ideas. And there's some people that I know that hate this film, and I don't know why. I've heard some explanations for it, and mostly I've heard that it's like it's a plot that they come across or something. But it's beautiful. It's a great told story. It's absolutely amazing. I love it, and it's something that you can love from a purely fun, just watching the movie kind of way, but it's also a fun movie to just go and think about and process and think about the emotions and think about the way your brain thinks about things. It's just such an in-depth thing. This is a kind of movie where it's like, I would love to see another movie like this. I don't necessarily need another Inside Out. I would love more stories that kind of deal with this type of thinking, this type of processing. But like if they chose to do Inside Out 2 and do Riley as a college high school student, I'd be on board with that. If they chose to leave it Inside Out alone and have it just be one movie, I'd be fine with that too, because it's beautiful enough to stand on its own forever. The Incredibles. This, I still remember seeing this in theaters and just being blown away at it. It's just such a great superhero story. And when it came out, you gotta remember, like, superhero movies were just starting to pick up in popularity. It's not like today. Like, Incredibles was just at the very, like, around the same time as Spider-Man and these first few couple ones. And to tell a superhero story with this much character, this much depth and process to it, and just so intricate, so well told, has so much going on for it. It's absolutely amazing. Like, all of these characters are complex and interesting, and it's like, you understand where each of them are. It's like, you can understand Bob as the Mr. Incredible, as this person who prides himself on his strength and his power and trying to help people, and being forced into a situation where he has to stand back, that he has to stop and stand by and let things happen. And you can understand his desire to be a hero and to relive his glory days, because it's that thing of like being a superstar, of being a pro athlete, being you were amazing at something and you were taken out before you were done. But then he also learns, and we also learn, that it's like some things are more important than your fame and the title and the power and the stuff that you entail. And he learns that his family is what's truly important to him. And it's like, you see him grow and become a more full person and a much better person as a result. Like, him trying to go and at the final fight of the movie and trying to go fight on his own, and the family's like, we want to fight too, you can't just leave us. And he's like, I can't lose you. I can't lose you again. And it's just, you feel the emotion, you feel the loss, you feel the sadness in that. It's just like, he grew so much as a character from the beginning of the story to the end of that story. And like they all do, like, you see Violet go from someone who hated her, who's afraid of herself, who doesn't like her powers, who doesn't feel this way, to accepting her powers, accepting who she is, and growing and becoming a fuller person because of it. Same with Dash, same with Mrs. Incredible, same Elastigirl. It's like, you see her having to be the mom role, having to fill this thing and keep everyone up and happy, but also having to deny part of herself. And she seems more capable of doing it and more accepting of it, but then you get further in and you realize that this was part of her joy too. This was something that they did together, which is so cool when you get to Incredibles 2 and it's all focused on Helen and her chance to be the hero and her chance to shine. I've had a lot of people like saying that they prefer Incredibles 2 to Incredibles, that it's funnier, that it has a better action, and I might give you it's a little funnier a bit, but I'm not going to give you that it's a better movie or better action. It's the same movie, I will give you that, just told with the genders reversed, but honestly, like, no, it's just, there's so much going on with the first one, with the story, with the characters, with everything going on, and you have the best villain in this, the best uh, monster of your own making villain, where this Mr. Incredible's biggest fan, and Mr. Incredible turned his back on him, and out of revenge, he not only wants to destroy Mr. Incredible, he wants to make himself a super, and then make everyone super, so that Mr. Incredible is nothing. That's a level of hate that works so well. And there's points in this where it's like, he is super evil. And you can also see him geeking out over things, which is super fun, because he's still that character where it's like, oh, cool, new action, like, It's like, at last, he just gets super hyper and super energetic, but you can also see him as a threat, and you can see him when he's holding Jack the baby, that he could kill this baby. He would not hesitate to do it. And it's just so dark and so sinister and works so well. And I'm super glad that they finally got around to doing Incredibles 2. I wish it hadn't taken as long, but I understand. I just hope they make Incredibles 3 a little quicker. Because I think we can get more stories out of this. We need more incredible stories. Honorable mentions is pretty much any Pixar film ever made that wasn't in my bottom 5. Like, there's, like, literally all of them are brilliant and amazing. There's one that a lot of people put as their favorite that I can't do that, because I love part of it, and I don't care for the rest of it. But I do have to acknowledge how great that part of it is, and that is Up. I love the first 8 minutes of Up. It's the best thing ever animated. Period. It's beautiful, it's amazing, it's stupendous, it's so heartbreaking, and so emotional, and so much depth to it. I just wish the rest of the movie had lived up to that first 8 minutes. The first movie's fine, it's fun, it's okay. It's not anywhere near as good as the emotional roller coaster that is the first 8 minutes. But now we move on to my number 1. WALL-E. This is my favorite Pixar film by far, and I am part of the reason I wanted to do this list and I wanted to talk about it is because this movie gets such little love. It doesn't have the big fan base that it should, and I don't know why, because it is brilliant. This is a movie that Time Magazine said was the best movie in 20 years when it came out. That 20 years, that's including all the first 2 Toy Stories. That's including all of early Pixar. And then just all this stuff. And yet WALL-E is considered the best movie of 20 years, and it deserves it. It is amazingly told. It has got great characters, from characters who can't say much and can't do much, but they have so much movement, so much emotion, and so much life behind them. You have one of the best couples ever of Wally and Eve, who start out as strangers, who she's all business and he's all just chaos, and that she grows and changes from knowing him. And that's one of the best things about Wally as a character, is everybody he comes in contact with, he improves them. He makes them better. He awakens them to the world around them and improves them. He runs into the humans on the ship, and they notice for the first time, I'm in space. There's a pool here. There's so much life. I never seen half of this, and there's other people. We're not, it's like, because of WALL-E, it's like humanity is able to survive at the end of the story. And then you even see how he changes the robots, because you have that ward full of the dysfunctional, about to be shut down robots, and WALL-E helps them escape. And they not only follow him and have an appreciation for him, but they figure out how to use their flaws, their things that are screwed up, to help WALL-E succeed and help get him where he needs to go. And it's really amazing. And seeing Eve's character development from this cold stone business robot to emotional, to literally holding WALL-E and trying to bring him back type of thing, is just amazing. And this is one of those movies where I've watched it a dozen times. I cry every time at the ending. Every single time. I cannot help it. I bawl like a baby. It is so beautiful. I've tried to figure out why some people don't have as big a love for this. And a lot of the thing I hear is that a lot of people like half of the movie. They either like the first half or they like the second half, but they don't like them together. And I don't fully get that, because that's the only way the movie kind of works. You can't, it's like, you could do a entire story with WALL-E and Eve just on the planet by themselves, but there wouldn't be much conflict, there wouldn't be a lot of stuff going on, it would just be kind of dry. And then it's like, you couldn't do just the entire second half of the movie, because you need to see the true loss and the true depth that humanity fell to before we can be reborn and rise up again. And it works so well, and it's so well told. and that you can get so much emotion out of characters who don't speak, who barely move, and have this wide range of sounds, a wide range of reactions. This one of the things that I love about Wall-E. One of the things that I found out that I think is amazing is this is one of the few films that's like been improved through audience interactions and private viewing and people viewing the movie beforehand, because the ending of this movie used to be different. I don't mean the specific ending where they make it back to Earth and all that, but there's an entire version of this movie that existed where Eve is the one that gets damaged in the third act, and then Wall-E revives her using the lighter, and then they travel back to Earth, and then there's no real end credits, and it's like, and the audience was saying, well, it's like, that's okay, but there's not a lot to that. There's no there's not enough reason to go back to Earth. So the director took that idea and switched it and had it be Wall-E who got damaged and Wall-E who needed to be repaired. And you don't have the pieces on the ship. You have the pieces to repair him on Earth, which adds an additive incentive for the third act and makes, everything they're doing more important, and having Wall-E being the one holding open the device while he's getting crushed so that they have a chance to get to Earth, so much more impactful. That the dancing scene in space is just breathtakingly amazing. I'm like, this is one of those movies I will love forever. It is my life, it is my childhood, and I'm sad that it doesn't get the love it deserves, because like, until very recently, it was very hard to find anything Wall-E merchandise-wise. Like, so I was like, I'm collecting all that I can. So I have a bunch of pins, I have a couple ornaments, I have a couple pop figures, I have Wall-E and Eve that talk to each other, which are really cool. And thankfully, with the addition of Pixar Pier to Disneyland California Adventure, we're getting a couple more items and a couple more things. But it's still not giving the full love it deserves. It's just giving a little bit of a nod to it. But we can do better. We should have more. I'm gonna champion until probably the day I die that we need a Wall-E ride in Tomorrowland. I always say we take the old People Mover track, put Wall-E and Eve shaped vehicles, have them go down the track, have them rotate around each other for the dancing sequence, and have them each have a sound box where it's Wall-E and Eve reacting to their own story. So you get different experiences depending on if you're riding in Wall-E or if you're riding in Eve. I love this concept. This is the one concept for a ride that I'm like super behind. And Disney, if you ever see this and you want to do that, all I ask is that you have a original idea by Andrew. That's all I want. I just want this ride to exist because it sounds amazing in my head, and it could be amazing. And I think Wall-E is a theatrical masterpiece that deserves far more credit than it gets. So that's my top 5. What do you all think? Do you all agree? Do you think someone else should have been number 1? Are you all mad that I didn't include Toy Story in my top 5? Let me know in the comments. Have a wonderful day.